Good Lord, man. And you're just going to keep grabbing receivers and getting penalties and just being a penalty machine? We got to get your hands right. We're going to do that in this edition of the Indy Drills podcast. You are watching and listening to the Indy Drills podcast, where we talk defensive backs, defense, all things secondary and coverage. I'm happy to have you here with me. I'm your host, Chad Wilson, owner of All Eyes DB Camp and author of 101 DB Tips, which turns out to be the sponsor of this show. If you are a defensive back, coach of defensive back, trainer of defensive backs, you need to have yourself a copy of this thing right here, 101 DB Tips. It's over 100 of the best DB tips you will ever get, all in one spot. And I'm happy to announce this is version 2 of the book that now has 100 passing terms that you need. Let me get to that page for you right here. Over 100 passing terms that you need. You ever got a playbook, opened it, looked at it, and started seeing some words in there that you'd never seen before being used for pass defense? Well, this book will definitely help you with the addition of the 100 pass terms in there. Plus, we've added some pages in there for you to take notes, because we've been listening to those of you who have been so kind as to make that purchase. And there are a lot of you at this point. We are appreciative for all that. For the rest of you out there playing this game and coaching it, you need to have a copy of this if you don't have one already. All right. It's definitely going to up your game. And whether you're a coach, as I said, player, it's going to take things to the next level for you. A lot of answers in this book. So definitely get your hands on that. I'll have a link to it down in the description below. Today, what are we getting into? A couple of DB items in the news. A long-awaited defensive, a guy who should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago, is finally making his way in. And I'm so happy about it. He's a guy whose game really admired back when he was playing. He was playing in the NFL while I was in college. So someone I definitely looked at, taped, studied, and modeled some parts of my game around what he did. It's a travesty that it's taken this long, but you know what? He's finally made it in. So we'll talk about that in this show coming up. We're going to talk about why you are getting some of these penalties. It's not all the referees, guys. All right. I know some of my social media channels, I get on the referees' case a little bit, but some of these are earned. All right. And we're going to talk about some of the reasons why those things might be earned by you. It's definitely some things that can be fixed. So we're going to talk about that in the show today. I've got some tips for guys that are entering into high school via a question that has been sent into me. So we're going to talk about that in the mailbag. And then we're going to talk about why we're just copycatting this one thing. It drives me nuts, but we're just copycatting and we're making things easy for the offense. So all of that coming up on this edition of the Indy Drills podcast. If this is your first time here, or you haven't had a chance to do it already, go ahead and subscribe to the show, whether you're listening to it on or watching it on YouTube, or you're listening to it on your favorite podcast streaming device, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, whatever that is. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode coming out during this, I don't want to say this off season, because there is no off season in football. Definitely don't want to miss the next one. Hit the bell, though, if you're on YouTube, so you are notified. All right. Looking forward to many, many shows like this coming up, where I can answer some questions, throw out some thoughts for you guys, and we talk about it. Definitely like the feedback. So if you guys have a question or a comment about anything on the show, feel free to drop it down in the comment section. Would really, really appreciate that. You have a DB question, put it down in the comment section. I will definitely see it, read it, and give you an answer either right away or on the next Indy Drills podcast. So looking forward to that. All right. What's in the news? Eric Allen, I think I profiled him on the All Eyes DB Camp blog. I definitely have a video on him on this channel. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening to this podcast, you can head over either to my blog or to my YouTube channel, and you can hear or read about Eric Allen, a DB from the late 80s through the 90s and into the early 2000s, a real technician, a guy that really had a nose for the football, finally getting elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So he'll be part of the 2025 class. Really, really happy about that. It's always cool when someone who you really studied coming up in the game gets this great honor and opportunity. And it's well deserving for a guy like Eric Allen. His biggest crime was coming up in the era of Rod Woodson and Deion Sanders, two huge titans in the cornerback game changers, if you will. He was overshadowed by both of those guys, physical abilities and accomplishments. And so he kind of got dwarfed there, but he should not have. Based just solely on numbers, Eric Allen is a guy that should not be backburnered. Okay, he's a man who had 54 interceptions in his career, 8 of them for touchdowns. All right, he's up there on the all-time list of interception touchdowns. There aren't many guys with more pick sixes in their career than Eric Allen. So far as the interceptions are concerned, 54. I'm going to give you some names of guys that he has more interceptions than in his career. We'll just start with the one, Deion Sanders. Eric Allen's 54 tops Deion's 53. He has more interceptions than guys like Champ Bailey, Asante Samuel, D'Angelo Hall, Brian Dawkins, Richard Sherman, Patrick Peterson, who probably is just now being done, Stephon Gilmore, who's still playing, but Gilmore, I don't see him reaching Eric Allen's 54. Gilmore somewhere in the 30s. I think he's at 35. I don't see another 19 interceptions in Stephon Gilmore's career. So these are highly regarded defensive back, cornerbacks, and guys of that nature that aren't near Eric Allen's numbers in terms of interceptions. And that's the major stat that we, compare DBs with, that we measure them by. And Eric Allen was there. He's high up on this list of all-time career interception. And then the 8 touchdowns. I'm not sure. The only guy I can think of on this list that may have more pick sixes than Eric Allen is Deion Sanders. The rest of these guys, no. So you got to ask yourself, what's taken so long to get Eric Allen into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? But nevertheless, he's here. So looking forward to that. I compare Eric Allen a lot to a guy like Darius Slay. He's another guy that I really like, one of my favorite cornerbacks playing in the game today, just because of all of the things that he can do. You ask him to play off man, he can play it. You ask him to play zone, he can play it. You ask him to press, he can do that. He's a solid tackler. I mean, he does everything well. And it's just a person that you would like, a defensive back that you're teaching the game to watch. And that's what Eric Allen was for me as I was coming up, a guy to watch so that you could learn a lot about the position and kind of get an idea of how to do many different things very, very well. So Eric Allen was great in college, played for Arizona State. He was a ball hawk there, a very good all-around defensive back. Went to Philadelphia and immediately had an impact. I think he had 5 interceptions as a rookie. I think he followed that up with 8 interceptions in his second year. Those first 5 or 6 years, he was on a crazy pace in terms of on-the-field production. So if you have a chance and you're watching this on YouTube, if you have a chance to get over to my YouTube channel, check out the video that I have there on Eric Allen and get up to date on that guy if you are not familiar with who that is. So very happy to see that happen. Also in the news, Brandon Staley. You may remember him, former Los Angeles Chargers head coach, claimed the fame. Guy just didn't like punters, would always go for it on 4th down, and that was probably his undoing. An unconventional character in terms of a head coach. Didn't work out for him as a head coach in the Los Angeles Chargers. I didn't love him as a head coach, by the way, just on a personal note. Was used to drive me crazy with all going for it on 4th down all the time. It just didn't seem to have a rhyme or reason to it. But none of that takes away from his abilities as a defensive coordinator. I thought he did a really good job for the Los Angeles Rams when he was coaching under Sean McVay. So much so that he got himself a head coaching job in the NFL. So what does this mean, him heading over to New Orleans? All right, we could sit here and try and figure out what the New Orleans Saints will be going forward with Kellen Moore as their head coach. It was, Kellen Moore being named as the head coach was met with a lukewarm reception. Historically, that tells me he probably is going to do a good job. All right, what the masses think is a good hire often is usually in some of the ho-hum hires that have happened out there. because the public at large didn't love them, end up being really good. So, why not Kellen Moore? And I do like the hire of Brandon Staley. Someone else who likes the hire or is at least appealing to being more of an impact player is Saints cornerback Alontae Taylor. He tweeted out, unleash me after hearing about Brandon Staley being hired. He is going to make shot happen, and you know the word that should be used there. So Alontae Taylor had a very good first 2 seasons in the NFL. He's had a good solid 3 seasons. He was just less productive, you could say, this year because they moved him to an outside role. They tried that there. Not saying he's not a good outside corner. It's just I think he's underused if you just stick him outside. He's a guy that could do multiple things. Very good tackler, very good blitzer, can cover in the slot, and can do a lot of things, and that's probably where he's best used. He's more of a Jalen Ramsey type. And speaking of Jalen Ramsey, he tweeted out how pleased he was to see Brandon Staley getting another defensive coordinator job. If you guys remember, Jalen Ramsey was very complimentary of Brandon Staley after he left the Rams, saying that he's the smartest defensive coordinator that he'd been around in his time in the league. So he was very happy with his time that he spent with Brandon Staley. And with Alontae Taylor being that kind of player, if Brandon Staley sees it that way and uses uses Alontae Taylor the way he used Jalen Ramsey, we could see quite some production out of Alontae Taylor coming up in this 2025 season. So it's going to be interesting to see that happen. One of the best things about Staley is how he uses his personnel. To me, that is a big part of being a very good defensive coordinator. This game is about the players, right? And how you distribute those players, how you use those players, how you make the best use of their skills, get the most out of guys, and don't ask guys to do things that they really can't do. That's the essence of being a defensive coordinator. That's a big part of the strategy, the plan, and how you have success. So Brandon Staley still has those abilities, being a head coach, then we can expect to see some good things both out of the New Orleans Saints' defense as well as a key player in Alontae Taylor. So that's something for us to keep our eye on in this 2025 season is Alontae Taylor and how he's used by Brandon Staley on this New Orleans Saints defense. So that's it for the news that we have on this edition. I'm just looking forward to the Staley move. Very happy for Eric Allen. So looking forward to both of those things, the induction of Allen and how the various ways Alontae Taylor is going to be used. What do you guys out there think of Alontae Taylor as a defensive back, as a cornerback? Do you like his game? Do you see him being a better player in the New Orleans Saints' defense under Brandon Staley? Go ahead and drop a comment on that. Like to see what you guys think about both Taylor as well as the hire of Brandon Staley for the New Orleans Saints' defense. All right, sliding on to another topic for me. This is one that drives me crazy. Listen, as I prepare every season for combine and pro days, I talk to a lot of players. Obviously, I'm training guys out on the field and getting them ready for their on-field drills. But another part of what I do every year is do chalk talks and, interview prep and things of that nature for guys that are making this move on to the next level. And a lot of what I'm doing is just trying to decipher the systems that these guys played in. How well do they know it? How well can they explain it? And, each and every year, I just notice this thing that drives me nuts. Virtually everyone is running the same. Virtually everyone in college is running quarters, some type of quarters defense, split safety type defense. It's the same kind of coverages, same kind of rotations. It's redundant. It's over and over. And they're doing the same thing in the NFL too. A lot of these teams are cover 4, cover 6, and, cover 8, 2 to one side, 4 to the other. And then, if they've got a big lead or they, it's a big down and distance, they play cover 2. Just about everybody. And having spent some time over on the offensive side of things, it is so easy when the team you played last week runs the same coverage as the team you played this week and the team you're going to play next week. It makes preparation so much easier. The times when we've had to prepare for a defense that does something different. I mean, if it could be just something as simple as playing one high All right, everyone's playing split safeties. They're playing cover four, playing quarters. They're playing cover three, cover six. Not really cover three, but cover six and those type of things. And then you run into a team that's playing cover one and cover three. It takes a little more preparation for you. You've got to do more things in a week. It kind of muddies things up for you. God forbid if you get someone that runs some, type of exotic blitzes or anything that's off the cuff, that's not just a four-man rush and split zone behind it. It makes for a very long week, and it makes for some mistakes. It's making you as an offense do some things that you don't normally do, that you don't practice much, and it just can lead to some problems on game day. But if everyone's just going to run quarters and everyone's going to run cover six, it's just easy. The game plan this week is kind of like the game plan last week. We just make a few tweaks and we get to just practice more of the things that we're really good at. We can go out there and have a good time when we're going against the defense. I know the NFL is a copycat league, and I know it's just not relegated to the NFL, but a lot of places they just want to copy whatever's good. I'm here to tell you, a big part of what makes things good is that what you're running fits the personnel that you have. So a lot of these teams that want to run split safeties and just sit in the zone, and sit in those same zones and those same rotations, you don't have the pass rush for it. So you guys are out there getting picked apart, even in matchup zones, getting picked apart. We watched the Super Bowl. A big reason why Vic Fangio and that Philadelphia Eagles defense had success on that night was they had the pass rush for it. Those four guys up front can whip a lot of 5-man and 6-man protections. A lot of people don't have that. I'll venture to say no one else has it. So you just want to run with the Philadelphia Eagles are running because they won the Super Bowl. You better have that kind of personnel. I see the same thing happening at the high school level. Now, I will say this, in college and in high school, you will get more variance in terms of what teams run on offense and defense. It has been less so, though, for me over the last few years, where there used to be a lot of multiplicity, if I can use that word, at the high school and college level. I'm seeing less of it defensively. Everyone's trying to just tone themselves into this split safety look. A big part of it comes from all of the success that the Alabama Crimson Tide had under Nick Saban. He was considered a defensive guru. They were winning national championships every other year, so everyone wants to do that because they think that's what it's all about. It's the defensive system. No, there's a whole lot. You've had a chance to sit out, listen to Nick Saban talk about anything having to do with his program. It's not just the systems that are being running. That's a small part of it. It's that, it was the development of players. It was the recruiting of players. It was a lot of things. And not just the fact that they ran the split safety defense. So not just about that. You really have to assess your personnel. And then, by God, be creative. That's something I always strive to do as a coach, especially when I was a defensive coordinator. You got to be creative. You've got to there has to be some surprise attacks. Because by and large, the way that the game is set up, it's a lot of on defense reacting to what it is the offense is doing. A lot of it is that. That's just the nature of the way things are set up. We're constantly adjusting to what the offense is doing. However, with your creativity, you can force the offense now to think and adjust to you. But if you're just going to line up, coaches I'm talking to, and do the same thing that everyone else is doing, well, then it just boils down to now you have better players than everyone else, and or B, you better have better players than the team you're playing against. Because, this stuff might work a whole bunch during the regular season, but once you get into those playoffs, you don't have better players, and they've been seeing your defense that you're running all season long, a good chance you're going to get beat. And I get it. A lot of guys out there say, well, it's about the execution. We'll just execute better than everyone else. Sure, I get that. I believe in it. However, if you just look like everyone else, I'm here to tell you, all right, so moral of the story here is for you coaches. I get it. You guys go to camps and clinics, and that's kind of how you learn the defenses. That's how you kind of get some organization structure to what it is that you want to run. You don't want to start it. You don't want to bake this thing from scratch. I get it. That's fine. I would say to you this, don't just bake right out of the cookbook, right? Throw a few ingredients in there yourself, put some tweaks in there, and kind of have some curveballs ready for that offense. Because by golly, man, if you're going to let that quarterback drop back and see the same rotations from your safeties that they see all the time, they're going to pick you apart. All right. They see these rotations throughout the 7-on-7 season. Then they get into the regular season and they're seeing the same moves, the same rotations out of your secondary that they've seen everywhere else. They're just going to be like a well-oiled machine back there, knowing where to go with the football and getting the ball into the hands of their receivers. Just a little coaching tip and help that I'm throwing out there to you. You got to have a little bit of creativity in there somewhere. So, moving right along, it's time for the mailbag. As I tell you guys every week, I can take your questions, send them to me at cwilson@alleyedsdbcamp.com, whether that's a question on technique as a player or as a coach, coverages, anything having to do with playing defensive back, coverages in general. It doesn't just be defensive back. Linebackers cover too. Anything along those lines, anything coverage related, feel free to drop those questions on me. You could send them to me via email, cwilson@alleyedsdbcamp.com, or you can drop them on the on this video in the comments section, whether that is on Anchor or you're watching this on YouTube. You can drop your question or comment in the comment section down below, and I'll get to it, and I might use it on the next Indy Drills podcast. All right, question this week comes from Eric, who says, Coach, I'm entering 9th grade and play corner. What are some tips you have for me? I get this kind of question a lot all the time because it's kind of like a Slack recruiting DB question, and that just covers the two things that I specialize in and talk about on my YouTube channel, which is college football recruiting and defensive back. Then I'm going to keep this very simple for you, Eric. There are 4 things that I think you should focus on entering into 9th grade. And that is, first, learn this game. All right. That's probably going to be my answer to a lot of the questions that I get. Learn the game. Too many people come in trying to play and they don't fully understand it. They're just out there playing. And when you don't really understand, you haven't learned, you don't have a football IQ, you're just reacting to everything. There's no anticipation in your game. And if you don't have any anticipation in your game, it's very difficult for you to be a real playmaker. It's very difficult for you to get your hands on the football and get those interceptions. A lot of the interceptions you're going to get in this game are going to be because of anticipation. You knew a route was coming. The moment you got that key, because you knew it was coming and you were able to anticipate it, you can react faster, cut the route off, get the ball in your hands, as opposed to it getting into the hands of the intended receiver. So you will have zero anticipation if you don't have much of an IQ. So learn defenses, learn coverages, and then learn what it is that offenses do. All right? It's important for you to know how your opponent is going to attack you. If you don't spend any time studying offense, if you didn't spend any time on offense in your little league years, let's say you were primarily a defensive player, you don't have a full understanding of offense. All right? Let's just start from that standpoint. Let's not fool ourselves. Maybe you understand defense, but you don't fully understand offense. Take some time to study offenses and what they do. Study RPOs. Find out what they are, really. Find out how they operate and what they are trying to accomplish when an offense runs an RPO. Understand spread offenses and the combinations of routes that are being run and what the philosophy is on how they are trying to attack the defense. Understanding that will allow you to have some anticipation. You'll be able to see formations once they come out of the huddle, and you kind of have an idea of what's coming. As the routes start and you start seeing one route being run by another player, you can anticipate what the corresponding route is going to be, and you can have some anticipation. You study quarterbacks and how they need to operate their movements, both pre and post snap. You can kind of have an idea of what is coming your way. You will have the anticipation that I talked about, and you'll be able to make some plays. The next thing is you are going to be introduced to weights if you have it already. And now you need to take that part of it very seriously. Maybe you hadn't taken it seriously prior to this, and you probably shouldn't have. All right. I think weightlifting is something that needs to start probably when you get to high school. If it's brand new to you, totally embrace it. Okay. You are going to build your body up into a championship body, playmaking body, and a body that would be considered for college football if that's your end goal going forward, by being in the weight room. Short workouts, and you're just skirting your championship, your excellence, your performance. You're just taking away from your performance. I would say embrace the weight room early. in your career in high school. Don't run from that. The next thing is speed. You didn't come into this thing as a track guy, then I would certainly embrace that part of it. Okay. If you have some speed or you have some interest in it, I highly recommend track for guys when they're in high school. It will change the kind of player that you are, how you're regarded, the kind of plays that you can make, and all you do on the field as a defensive back playing football is run. And track is going to help you do that to the best of your ability. So, yeah, the workouts might be hard. Being in a track meet and not finishing in first place or finishing last or running a not so good time, and people have something to say about it, could be a little annoying. But that has nothing to do with anything. The people that are saying stuff about your times or where you came in the track meet are sitting in the stands not doing anything. All right, real easy for them to talk. You're actually a player on the field that's going to be doing something. So your times that weren't great in the beginning of track season and become better at the end of track season, make you a faster, better player when you get on the field in 9th grade, then in 10th grade, then in 11th grade. If you start track in 9th grade and you stay with it, you're going to be so much faster in 11th and 12th grade than you were in 9th grade. And if you're faster on the track, you will be a better football player. A faster football player is a better football player. With everything else being even, that is just a fact. If you're faster on the field, you're a better player. Period. Point blank. End of the story. So the idea of track is to make you faster now than you were before. Faster in 11th and 12th grade than you were in 9th grade. And if you stick with it, it's going to happen. That's another fact. You run track all 4 years, you will be faster in 11th grade than you were in 9th grade. There's no disputing it. And since we know a faster player is a better player, if you want to be a better player, go run track. All right. And if there isn't track available at your school or the program's not very good or whatever the case may be, you can't participate in track, then totally embrace all of the speed workouts that you're doing at your school. If for some reason you're not doing speed workouts at your school and you don't have a track program, I got to question the school that you're at. But nevertheless, I'm not here to make you transfer. Go find where you can get some speed work. There's a whole bunch of trainers in this country, right? They're all over the place. So I would be hard pressed to think you're in somewhere in this part of the country where you can't find someone to train you on speed. Take speed seriously. It's a big part of what you do as a defensive back. And another thing that I think gets overlooked that people don't talk about enough, especially when you're entering in 9th grade, is find competition. All right. Seek competition outside of just what's immediately around you, meaning just on your team. You've got to go seek out competition any and everywhere that you can. So go to the camps. And if you have the ability to go out of state to attend some of these camps, maybe during the summer on a vacation or something like that, definitely go do it. A couple of things here. First of all, competition makes you better. Second of all, a lot of guys are in parts of the country where they don't really see their competition. They think they're good where they're at. But it just really is so eye-opening for you to go to another region and kind of see how things are there. All right. This can spark you, motivate you, or at the very least help you understand that there are a lot of good players out there and there are guys that might be better than you thought. And you need to hurry up and fix your game and get on some things that you need to get. So there's a lot that will come out of you seeking competition. It will raise your level of play. That's ultimately what this thing's going to be about. It's going to be about competition. I don't care what position you play. If you're looking to go to the next level, it really is all about competition, but especially so as a defensive back, right? Competition, there's a spotlight on us at all times, all right? We are covering. People see everything that happens there. And when we make a mistake, it's a touchdown or usually a very big play, and so everyone can see that. So you need to put yourself in that atmosphere as much as possible. Learn how to deal with the potential failures that are going to happen, and you will fail covering as a defensive back. You will give up a touchdown. You will give up a big play. Put yourself in that situation as much as possible. Learn how to deal with it. It's good for your mental health and your strengthening, all right? You're going to have these situations happen in the game, and as much as you've been able to deal with it before you get to the games, the better you're going to be able to deal with it when you are actually in a game. You'll be able to just shrug it off, get ready for the next play. A touchdown on the last play doesn't mean you can't get a pick six on the next, all right? So learning how to deal with those things is very, very important, and by finding competition, that will definitely help you with that. So, Eric, I hope that helps you. Just to recap on those things, you got to learn the game as much as possible. definitely embrace the weight room, build your body up because football is a physical sport and being strong definitely helps you. Also, speed is a definitely an aid for you as a defensive back. So if you want to get faster, you're entering ninth grade, build that speed up early and often, and get yourself fast. All right. Faster players are more recruited players, is a bigger playmaker, is just a better player. Then the final thing is find competition because that's going to raise your level of play. It's going to make you a mentally strong player. And that's what you need to be at defensive back because there's constantly a spotlight on it. So for all of you guys that are out there in Eric's situation, and this is maybe a question that you have for yourself, those are the answers. Focus on those 4 things right there. All right, time for us to slide on to the main topic here today. We need to talk about it. Why are you so handsy? And by that, I'm not meaning handsy on the football. I'm talking about handsy in grabbing the wide receivers. We know that we can't run around and do that because referees are flag happy. And by golly, you really can't be hanging on and holding guys. The rules of this game does not allow it. And it does not make for a good defensive back. So let's talk about why you're so handsy and some ways to fix that as we wind down this edition of the Indy Drills podcast. All right, when it comes to playing press man coverage and just press coverage in particular, there's an order to things. I stress this to guys all the time when I'm coaching them or training them. Far too often, us defensive backs put the cart before the horse in the press technique. And by that I mean it becomes hands first. And I hate to break it to you, my friends, it's just not the way that things are supposed to work. As I say in my book, 101 DB Tips, the hands are just the icing on the cake. Before the hands, the eyes must be in the right place. Before the hands, the feet to put you in the proper position. And only then can you start involving your hands in what we call this press man part. All right, so we definitely need to talk about it. Far too often, the moment the receiver moves, defensive backs activate their hands. I see this all the time in training, when I go to camps, when I watch one-on-ones. And once they start with the hands, that's to the exclusion of everything else. You start reaching and grabbing, the other 2 main ingredients go to the wayside. So your eyes start rising and they go to the wrong spot. And then your feet are back. You're just letting your hands take over and do all the work. And suddenly now the cake we're trying to bake with our technique is not a very, very pretty one. All right. It's not all tastes very good either. And the yellow flags, like I said, start to come out. So now that we've established that the hands are the last part in the pecking order of things between eyes and feet and our hands, now we need to talk about how we get things lined up. And like I said, it starts with the eyes. They say the eyes are the window to the soul. And that applies here. If you're going to get everything lined up and have a successful press man rep, you really have to make sure your eyes are in the right place. Now, a lot of defensive coaches talk about this. But how do you really actually do it? Find something on the wide receiver to focus on when you're in press, okay? Something on, at, or near the waist. If there's a logo on the pants, great. Focus on that. If there's a small spot on the pants or anything else in that area, draw your focus to that. As it moves, you keep your eyes locked on that. Now, when you practice and train, never begin a rep without doing this. Your eyes are the starting engine in your press man car. Don't attempt to put the car in drive or turn the steering wheel without first starting the engine. So you've got to make sure your eyes are focused. Like I said, find that small thing for you to look at. Even when you're doing drills that don't involve a partner, here's the key part. Even when they don't involve a partner, imagine that one is there and you have to keep your eyes in the right place. A lot of guys go and do work on their own. They'll go to the park by themselves and, they'll do some DB drills and you're working on your press coverage. When you're out there working on your press coverage by yourself, you do need to pretend that there's a guy in front of you. That's how you train your eyes and you keep them in the right place. The other part I'd like to say is you really got to marry your feet to your eyes. Typically, this happens naturally, but when the eyes are right, the feet usually follow, but only when the feet know what to do. So Spend some time learning what the right steps are in press. Now, for beginners, that's all about keeping a solid base. Whether you're using hard press or any number of the soft press techniques that are out there, it's important to keep your footwork within your circle. Stepping too far outside of your center of gravity will remove both your balance and your power. Your goal should be stepping and replacing, stepping and replacing. Whether you're in a kick slide or you're in motor technique, once you've learned this and practiced it enough, your body's going to start doing this automatically if and only if your eyes are right first. So it goes back to the eyes. The eyes are right. Now we got to train the feet to do the right thing. And then the feet need to be in balance. They'll start stepping outside of your circle. After you've gotten these two things right, here are the hands. Now that the eyes made the proper focus and the feet have received the right data, put you on the scene, now the hands can be given an all-access pass. When your eyes aren't right, they send a distress signal to your feet. The feet panic. When they get out of balance, the hands now get a distress signal, and now they're called upon to save you, but they don't really save you. A lot of times, they're grabbing a receiver's jersey. They're putting you out of whack. They're putting everything out of balance, and there's only one thing that's going to happen here. A really bad rep, it's either a flag or they beat you down the field. Now, because we know the right way to do things, our hands not only become our friends, they become the finisher. However, there's one more hurdle that you guys need to cross. We allow our hands to remove our eyes from their focus, the feet will panic, and everything can go haywire from there. So we need to prevent that from happening. When you have the receiver lined up and ready to be struck, when it's time for you to use those hands, maintain your eye focus. When you shoot your hands, do not do that at eye level, okay? So, for you guys that are watching this on YouTube, and for those of you listening to me on the podcast, just try to follow along. You want to shoot your hands above your eyes. A lot of guys will bring their eyes up to see what it is they're hitting. We've known this throughout time. If you can see a guy's hips, trust that his chest and shoulders are right above that. So you don't need to rise your eyes to do this, all right? The receiver's hips are right here where you have the focus. Shoot your hands right above your eyes, and you're going to find his chest, unless he's some supernatural guy, and that's a whole nother story. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it, all right? Strike the chest, keep your eyes down, and watch how your feet keep you in good position. When you are doing all of those things right, okay, when the eyes are right, feet are right, the hands will do the right thing, and it all just works together. But the name of this company is All Eyes DB Camp, and it's that for a reason. The eyes are the most important thing. You take care of those, the feet will follow, and then your hands are going to do the right thing. And as I said, I cover this a lot more in 101 DB Tips. I also cover this in depth in the All Eyes DB Camp members area. Folks, I know I hype up the book. I'm going to hype up this members area as well because it is an absolute superpower. If you are not in that members area, you're cheating yourself, okay? We've got over 200 videos in there right now on technique, coverages, strategy, breaking down coverage analysis, all type of things in there. DB quizzes. Can't talk enough about this. Plus, you have the ability to chat with me in there. I do lives in there from time to time, break down a lot of things and get some answers immediately for some of the questions that you have. You will absolutely love this place, and you get a free 7-day trial. So why try it? I'll have a link to it down in the description below. So it is an absolute superpower. If you have an All Eyes DB Camp membership plus a copy of 101 DB Tips, you are guaranteed to be a better football player the next time you step out on the field. Your next season is going to be a better football season. I can guarantee that to you. That's just too much information for you to have, for you to not be better, for you to not excel, for you to not reach your ultimate level as a DB. So 101 DB Tips and a membership to the All Eyes DB Camp members area is just going to raise your game to the elite level. All right. Once again, you guys, I love to get feedback. So if you guys have any comments on anything that I've talked about on the Indy Drills podcast today, or if you have a football question, you have a DB question, a coverage question, hit me in the comment section here on the YouTube channel right now. if you're listening to this on Anchor or Anchor for Spotify or Spotify for Anchor. You can ask your questions there, but you're better off sending me an email to cwellson@alliesdbcamp.com, and I can answer your questions there. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed the show today. And again, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the next one. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button. And of course, share it with your friends. That's it for me. I'm out. And as always, All Eyes DB Camp. Consistency breeds results.